Have you ever scrolled through your phone at 2 a.m. and felt your chest tighten like gravity just increased? You watch a highlight reel of everyone else's wins. Perfect photos, perfect captions, perfect live, and somewhere between the 4th carbon-copied sunset and the 100th success story, you catch yourself whispering, "Am I late? Did I miss the memo where life actually started?" That panic, that quiet shame, that low-burning worry that you're not enough. It's not weakness, it's modern design. The world was built to steal your attention and rent your emotions back to you. Notifications become the boss of your mood. A stranger's like sets the price on your self-worth. Traffic decides whether you'll be kind today. A text can ruin your whole week, and none of it asks your permission. But what if I told you the single most radical thing you can do, the real rebellion, isn't changing the world overnight? It's changing the one place no one else gets to live in, your inner state. Imagine waking up and owning your day before the algorithm gets a vote. Imagine checking your phone and realizing it doesn't control your joy. Imagine moving through the world with a calm, so steady people assume you have secrets, then find out your secret is simple. You don't rent your emotional life to anything outside you. That power exists. It's not mystical. It's practical. It's ancient. The Stoics lived with less, faced more, and still kept their minds. Marcus Aurelius wrote private notes to himself like they were battle plans. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that the last human freedom is the power to choose your attitude. They weren't preaching comfort. They were teaching a weapon, how to be unshakable in a shaky world. Here's what it looks like in real life. Your project fails, your crush ghosts you, your family gets angry about something you said. A million small storms. The average person folds. They react, they rant, they make decisions while their heart is still shaking. The Stoic, he pauses, he chooses. He decides, in the middle of the mess, what he will feel and what he will do next. Not because he doesn't feel, he feels everything, but because he won't be owned by it. That silence, that pause, is the birthplace of clarity. And clarity is the most dangerous thing on earth. Because let's be honest, being swept around by your feelings is comfortable in a way. It's predictable. It gives you a narrative, the victim, the underdog, the heartbreak story. But comfortable narratives trap you. They make you small. They make you reactive. Mastery looks nothing like that. Mastery is waking up every morning and reciting truths that make your decisions easier, your reactions quieter, and your life more intentional, not hollow bravado. True calm that comes from practice. This isn't about turning you into some robotic statue who pretends to be above pain. Pain will visit, loss will cut, life will still be messy. But when you build the muscle to choose your response, you stop handing power away. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you don't melt down. A text wounds you and you don't surrender your day. Your bank balance dips and you don't let fear run the show. Those moments pile up and then they become the climate of your life. A climate can be savage or it can be resolute. You decide, and here's the other thing. Freedom isn't found by avoiding hard things. It's forged inside them. The Stoics didn't mediate in utopia. They meditated in war, in famine, in exile, in plague. They practiced small cruelties, cold baths, simple food, to remember how to survive bigger ones. Why? Because if you can rule your inner world when the world is gentle, you can rule it when the world is brutal. That's not arrogance. That's preparation. So today, this is the invitation. Stop giving your life away to every ping and petty drama. Start a morning practice that anchors you. Build statements you can return to when everything else is falling apart. Teach your mind a new language, and a language of clarity, of limits, of action. Because when your inner life has rules, the outside world loses its leverage. You become the person people rely on when things go wrong. You become the rock in your own ocean over the next minutes. I'm going to give you 10 morning declarations. Real, unglamorous, radically practical truths you can say every day to turn your mind from prey into predator, not of people, but of circumstance. These aren't motivational quotes to forget by noon. They're daily armor. They'll teach you to choose your mood, protect your peace, focus on what you control, and end each day stronger than you started. They are small rituals with massive return. If you're tired of living on other people's schedules and other people's emotions, if you want your days back, this is your manual. It's not quick. It's not comfortable at first. It will ask you to sit with boredom, to accept limits, to endure the sting of being misunderstood. But every minute of that resistance builds a kind of unshakable confidence that looks like grace and sounds like quiet strength. So inhale. Put your hand on your chest. Feel the beat that no one can take away, because from here on you get to choose. Not the headline, not the hated, not the small disasters. You. The next 10 declarations are the map. They'll help you anchor, act, and become someone who doesn't just survive their days, but commands them. Ready? Let's begin. Point 1, control. What you can, release what you can't every single day. You're going to face problems that are out of your hand. Maybe it's the weather that ruins your plans. Maybe it's the boss who calls you out in front of the team for something you didn't even do. Maybe it's that text that never comes, or the deal that falls apart at the last moment. And your first instinct toward, because you're human, is to clench your fists, to fight the air, to replay conversations in your head like broken tapes. You waste hours, sometimes days, locked in battles with things that were never yours to control in the first place. The Stoics taught something so simple, yet so hard to live. The only thing you truly control is yourself, your thoughts, your choices, your actions. Everything else belongs to fate, to chance, to the chaos of the world. And here's the trap. When you confuse the two, when you try to bend the outside world into your will, you suffer twice. First, from the pain of what happened, and second, from the frustration of believing you could have controlled it. Think about it. You can't stop the rain, but you can decide to walk through it, head high, unbothered. You can't control what someone thinks of you, but you can control whether their opinion decides your self-worth. You can't stop a global economy from crashing, but you can control how resourceful, disciplined, and adaptable you become in the storm. That difference between what belongs to you and what doesn't is the line between a prisoner and a free person. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Notice what he didn't say you'll find comfort or that life will magically get easy. He said you'll find strength. Why? Because real strength isn't about bulldozing through life and winning every fight. It's about conserving your energy for the battles that actually belong to you. Let me give you an image. Imagine holding a rope and on the other end is a raging storm pulling you forward. The harder you grip, the more it cuts into your skin. You bleed, you scream, you exhaust yourself fighting something you can't stop. But the moment you let go, you realize you didn't need to win. You only needed to stop giving it your grip. That's what control feels like. Not victory over everything, but freedom from what was never yours. Now let's ground this in real life. Say you're in traffic, late for work. You can slam the steering wheel, curse, feel your blood boil. You can arrive already drained and angry, infecting your entire day. Or you can breathe, accept that the cars aren't moving because you don't control them, and use that time. Call someone you care about. Listen to a podcast. Think. Suddenly the same situation that once owned you becomes a gift. Same reality, new response, or take heartbreak. Someone leaves you. You can spiral, stalk their social media, replay every moment, hoping your pain will rewrite history. Or you can feel the ache, because pain is real, but refuse to add suffering by believing you could have forced them to stay. You can control how you heal, what you learn, and how you carry yourself moving forward. That's power. Here's the paradox. When you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable, you gain more energy to control what actually matters. Your habits, your discipline, your craft, your focus. Most people drown because they're swimming in the wrong ocean. They obsess over whether they're liked, over gossip, over politics they can't touch, over outcomes they can't guarantee. Meanwhile, their inner world, their choices, their daily routines, the very things that do belong to them, are neglected. They give up the throne of their own life to chase crowns that were never meant for them. But when you flip the script, when you decide, this is mine, that is not, your days get lighter, your shoulders unclench, your nights get quieter. You begin to notice a strange confidence rising. Not because life is easier, but because you know exactly where to place your effort. Think of an archer. He trains his grip, his stance, his aim. But the moment he releases the arrow, it's out of his hands. Wind may blow, the target may move. He doesn't scream at the air. He accepts, because he knows his only duty was to release well. Life works the same way. Do your part with excellence, then let the rest go. Here's your daily practice. Every morning, ask yourself, what belongs to me today? What doesn't? Make it a ritual. Write it down. When something bothers you, test it. If it's yours, unknown in your effort, your response, your integrity, own it completely. If it's not, someone else's mood, the market, the weather, release it before it poisons your peace. This isn't escape. This isn't passive. It's radical clarity. It's choosing to fight the battles that make you stronger and refusing to waste your soul on battles you'll never win. And when you live like this, people will notice. They'll see you calm in situations where others rage. They'll see you focused when others are distracted. They'll see you unbroken when others collapse. And they'll wonder, what's their secret? The secret is simple. You stop trying to control the wind. You learn to sail it. Point 2. Build invisible systems, not illusions of willpower. Everyone talks about willpower like it's some magical muscle. Just push harder. Just resist temptation. Just be disciplined. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Willpower is fragile. It burns out. And if your entire life strategy depends on raw self-control, you're setting yourself up to fail. Think about it. Have you ever told yourself, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, eat clean, crush my to-do list? And maybe you do it once, twice, then one stressful day hits. You're tired, hungry, annoyed, and suddenly you're back in bed at 11 a.m. scrolling TikTok. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because you were depending on brute force. And brute force always cracks under pressure. The Stoics centuries ago already knew this. They didn't preach about pushing harder, they preached about systems. Seneca wrote about practicing poverty so that when riches were gone, he wouldn't panic. Marcus Aurelius designed his mornings with reflection, meditation, and reminders about death, not because he was motivated, but because he built structures that made his choices automatic. That's the secret. Stop designing your days around bursts of energy and start designing your environment so success becomes the default. Picture this. You want to eat healthier. You tell yourself, tomorrow I won't eat junk. That's fragile willpower talking. Instead, redesign the system. No keep chips in the house. Stock the fridge with pre-cut fruits. Put water bottles on your desk. Suddenly, when hunger strikes, you don't need to fight temptation. The system already fought for you. Or take productivity. If your phone is sitting on your desk, buzzing every 10 seconds, do you really think your willpower can fight that all day? No chance. But what if your phone is in another room? What if your laptop has distraction-blocking software? What if your workspace only contains the tools you need for your craft? Now you don't need to resist. You just flow. This is the law of invisible systems. Make the right action easy and the wrong action hard. Think about an Olympic swimmer. They don't try to practice at 5 a.m. They build a life where practice at 5 a.m. is automatic. Their coach is waiting. Their team is waiting. Their alarm isn't a phone they can snooze. It's a system that forces their body out of bed. To them, swimming is easier than not swimming because the system is so strong. The same applies to you. You don't need to shame yourself for missing the gym. You need to design a system. Lay your workout clothes out the night before. Schedule a friend to meet you there. Commit money to a trainer so skipping actually costs you. Suddenly skipping becomes the harder choice. Here's the brutal truth. Most people fail not because they lack discipline, but because they design environments that guarantee failure. They keep junk food in the house, then blame themselves for eating it. They keep toxic people in their circle, then blame themselves for losing focus. They live surrounded by distractions, then cry about not finishing their goals. It's not your willpower that's broken, it's your design. Let's get practical. Take one area of your life you've been struggling with. Fitness, focus, money, relationships. Instead of asking, how do I push myself harder? Ask, how can I redesign the system so the right choice becomes automatic? If it's fitness, create friction against bad habits. No soda. Meal prep on Sundays. Leave your running shoes by the door. If it's focus, clear your desk of clutter. Install website blockers. Use noise-cancelling headphones. Build a playlist that signals work mode. If it's money, set up auto transfers to savings the moment your paycheck lands. Hide your credit cards. Unsubscribe from flash sale emails. If it's relationships, schedule weekly family check-ins so connection happens by default. Block toxic numbers that pull you into drama. See the pattern? You're not fighting your impulses every day. You're designing a battlefield where you've already won before the fight even begins. And here's the kicker. When you do this long enough, you don't just change your habits, you change your identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to eat healthy. You just eat healthy because your environment makes it normal. You stop saying, I'm trying to be focused. You just are focused because your system makes distraction rare. Most people think freedom is doing whatever you want. That's false. Real freedom is building systems so strong that the things destroying you can't even reach you anymore. You don't resist them. You don't fight them. You outdesign them. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, if it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Systems are your way of making the enduring easier. Instead of exhausting your soul in daily battles, you let design carry the weight. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. Not burned out. Not guilty from 1,000 failed promises, but calm, consistent, unstoppable. Because you no longer depend on motivation. You depend on a machine you built. Just productivity. That's power. So stop asking, how do I get more willpower? Ask, how do I build systems so powerful that willpower becomes irrelevant? That's when life stops feeling like a grind and starts feeling like it's carrying you forward. Point 3, master the deep work block. Enter the flow matrix. Let's get real. Most people don't work. They perform work. They shuffle emails. They open 27 tabs. They check Slack every 3 minutes, scroll through Instagram, reply to texts, sip coffee, and call it busy. But when the day ends, they look at their to-do list and it's still full. Their brain feels fried, yet nothing meaningful got done. That's not work. That's digital hamster wheel survival. Here's the secret. Real productivity doesn't come from multitasking. It comes from immersion. It comes from deep work. Cal Newport, the guy who literally wrote the book on this, defined deep work as professional. Activities performed in a state of distraction-free, concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. Translation? It's when your brain is so locked in that hours disappear, distractions fade, and you create something real, not shallow, busy work. Think about the greatest breakthroughs in history. Einstein didn't discover relativity while juggling 20 browser tabs. Beethoven didn't compose symphonies while texting. Steve Jobs didn't design the iPhone while watching cat videos. Every revolutionary idea came from deep, undistracted focus. And here's the thing, you don't need 12 hours a day of it. You need 3. 3 hours of pure, uninterrupted focus can outwork an entire week of scattered effort. That's the magic of the deep work block. So how do you do it? Step by step. 1. Pick one task. The battle to win today. You can't enter deep work trying to juggle 5 different things. You need one clear mission. Ask yourself, if I only completed one thing today, what would make the day a win? That's your deep work target. It could be writing a chapter of your book, designing a product, editing a video, coding a feature. Doesn't matter what, but it has to matter to you. Create a ritual, the flow trigger. The brain loves patterns. If you just decide to focus, your mind resists. But if you train it with rituals, focus becomes automatic. Same hoodie. Same playlist of lo-fi beats. Same desk setup. Same candle lit before you start. These aren't random quirks. They're cues to your subconscious. It's go time. It's like athletes putting on their game day uniform. That jersey isn't just fabric, it's identity. Your focus ritual should feel the same way. Time box it. 90 minutes of war. Your brain doesn't have infinite energy. Studies show focus peaks in cycles about 90 minutes long. So you don't need a 12-hour marathon. You need 90 minutes of trench warfare. Set a timer, no phone, no distraction. The rule is brutal. If it's not the task, it doesn't exist. When the 90 minutes end, take a break, walk, stretch, hydrate. Then, if you've got gas in the tank, go another round. 3 of these cycles, 1.5 hours. Enough to change your entire trajectory. Defend it like a fortress. People treat focus time like it's optional. That's why they lose. Treat it like a meeting with your future self. If someone asked to meet during your deep work block, would you cancel on them? No? Then don't cancel on yourself. Block notifications. Put your phone in another room. If you live with people, put a literal do not disturb sign on your door. Make it clear this time is sacred. Enter the matrix. Ride the flow state. The first 10-15 minutes will be hell. Your brain will scream, check your messages. What about YouTube? Maybe just one scroll. Ignore it. Push through. At minute 20, something strange happens. The noise fades. Your mind locks in. You lose sense of time. Ideas connect. Words flow. You're not forcing it anymore. You're riding the current. That's flow. That's deep work. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you do this, the faster you slip into it. Just like working out, you train your focus muscle. Eventually, 5 minutes of ritual will drop you into a state that used to take an hour to find. Why this works? Deep work beats shallow work because it compounds. A distracted hour of checking emails is gone forever. But an hour of deep work creates assets that last. A finished chapter, a coded feature, a designed product. These are bricks you stack into something massive over time. Shallow workers look busy but build nothing. Deep workers look calm but build empires. Here's the raw truth. If you don't master deep work, you'll live in a cycle of exhaustion and regret. You'll be the guy who says, I was busy all day, but secretly knows nothing meaningful got done. You'll watch people with half your talent pass you because they built systems for focus while you drowned in noise. But if you commit to deep work, even just 3 hours a day, your life changes. Your output skyrockets. Your confidence grows. You stop feeling scattered and start feeling unstoppable. And the best part? You'll finally respect yourself because you'll know you're not just surviving the day, you're creating something real. Imagine this. 6 months from now, imagine looking back. Every day, you carved out just 3 hours of deep work. That's over 500 hours of pure creation. That's a book written, a business launched, a skill mastered, a life transformed. Not because you had superhuman willpower, not because you worked 18 hours, but because you mastered the art of deep work and stepped into the matrix while everyone else was distracted. That's the difference between ordinary and unstoppable. Point 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. Let me tell you something uncomfortable but true. Words are cheap. Anyone can say the right thing. Anyone can apologize. Anyone can string together the exact words you've been dying to hear. But here's the catch. Words don't always reveal reality. They often hide it. That's why so many people get stuck in toxic cycles. They believe the apology. They believe the excuse. They believe the I'll change speech. And then the pattern repeats. The disrespect continues. The cycle goes on, but silence doesn't lie. Why silence is the ultimate truth detector. Think about it. When you stop explaining, when you stop defending, when you stop feeding the dynamic with your words, people's masks fall off. They can't hide behind charm or excuses anymore. Their actions, not their explanations, step into the spotlight. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." Read that again. It means your behavior screams louder than your words ever could. And silence is the amplifier. When you go quiet, you give people the stage and they reveal who they truly are. The manipulator? They'll panic when your silence robs them of control. The user? They'll vanish because without your energy to leech on, they have nothing to gain. The one who actually respects you? They'll show up. They'll check in. They'll prove through action that your presence matters. Why we struggle with this? Here's the hard part. Most of us hate silence. We crave words. We want closure. We want explanations. We want them to say what we need to hear. But that craving is what keeps us trapped. Because words are easy, actions are hard. That's why silence feels so brutal. It strips away the pretty lies and forces us to face reality. And reality hurt. It's painful to realize someone doesn't care as much as they claimed. It's painful to watch their absence prove their true priorities. It's painful to see the truth without filters, but that pain is the cure. It's the cut that removes the infection. How silence forces patterns to emerge. Let's get practical. Imagine someone disrespects you, ghosts you, or betrays you. Your instinct screams, confront them. Demand an explanation. Make them understand what they did. But what happens when you actually do that? Most of the time they downplay it. They deny it. They twist it back on you. But when you go silent, something powerful happens. You stop feeding their narrative. You stop giving them words to manipulate. You stop playing the game. And in that space, their patterns emerge. You start noticing, do they reach out when you're quiet? Did they only show up when they need something? Do they get angry because you didn't react? Or do they quietly let you go? Those patterns are the truth. No words can hide it anymore. Why silence hurts more than confrontation? Here's the paradox. Silence often hurts more than yelling ever could. Why? Because yelling gives them energy. It gives them relevance. It says, you still matter enough for me to react. Silence, on the other hand, says, you don't even deserve my words. That's devastating. Think about it. People can argue with your opinions. They can twist your explanations, but they can't argue with absence. They can't fight stillness. They can't rewrite a blank page. That's why silence often shakes people more than the loudest confrontation. It forces them to sit in the emptiness, to face their own conscience, to realize that you've moved into a different kind of power, one they can't control. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't waste time on endless arguments. They observed. They valued patterns over promises. They trusted silence to reveal the truth that words tried to hide. To the Stoics, silence wasn't weakness. It was clarity. It was emotional discipline. It was the ability to sit with reality without needing to dress it up in words. And that's exactly what most people today lack. We live in a world of noise, tweets, texts, endless talking. But in all that noise, real truth gets buried. Silence digs it back up. Let me be blunt. If you keep believing words without watching action, you'll stay stuck. You'll keep excusing bad behavior. You'll keep hoping someone changes while ignoring the evidence right in front of you. But the moment you go silent, the moment you step back and watch, instead of explain, everything becomes clear. And yes, it will hurt. It might shatter illusions you've been clinging to. But that pain is also liberation. Because now you can stop living in fantasy. Now you can act on truth. Now you can finally walk away with clarity instead of confusion. Imagine this picture yourself 6 months from now. Instead of begging for explanations or rehearsing speeches in your head, you've learned to master silence. Someone ghosts you. Instead of chasing, you step back. Instead of asking, why did they do that? You let their actions answer for them. Instead of drowning in their words, you trust what their silence reveals. And as you master this, something shifts inside you. You stop needing people to say the right thing. You stop falling for hollow apologies. You stop wasting energy trying to decode lies. You live in reality. You move with clarity. You carry yourself with quiet strength that others can feel but can't manipulate. Point 5, I will act, not just intend. Here's a brutal truth most people don't want to face. Intentions don't change your life. Actions do. Every single morning, millions of people wake up with great intentions. They plan to eat healthier. They plan to study harder. They plan to finally start that business. They plan to text back the person they've been ignoring. But by the time the sun sets, nothing has changed. The plan is still a plan. The dream is still a dream. And their life is still the same. Intentions are comforting. They give us the illusion of progress. They make us feel like we're about to change. But about to doesn't count. Almost doesn't move the needle. The gap between intention and action is where most people bury their potential. Why intentions are dangerous. See, the problem with intentions is that they feel good. Telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow, gives your brain a little dopamine rush. You feel like you've already achieved something just by planning. But it's a trap. You trick yourself into believing progress is happening when, in reality, you're standing still. That's why so many people live the same year on repeat. They had the same resolutions last January. They'll have the same resolutions next January. And they'll die with a list of intentions they never acted on. It's not because they didn't want it badly enough. It's because they never crossed the bridge from wanting to doing. The Stoic reminder, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, faced this exact struggle. In his writings, he often had to remind himself, at dawn, when you rise unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being. He didn't just sit around writing about discipline, he forced himself to live it. He understood that good intentions without action are worthless. They're just wasted thoughts. Virtue to the Stoics wasn't about knowing what was right. It was about doing what was right. The pain of inaction. Let's make this personal. Think about one thing you've been putting off. That project, that phone call, that habit you've been meaning to start. You've probably been carrying it in your mind for weeks, months, maybe even years. How heavy does that feel? How much mental space has it stolen from you? Here's the paradox. Doing the thing usually takes less energy than avoiding the thing. The workout you've dreaded all week, it takes 45 minutes. The call you've been anxious about, it takes 5 minutes. But the thinking about it, the delaying, the guilt, the mental rehearsing that eats hours of your life and drains your soul. Inaction doesn't just waste time, it corrodes your self-respect. Every time you intend but don't act, you prove to yourself that you can't be trusted. You build a silent reputation with yourself as someone who talks but doesn't follow through. And that quiet erosion of self-trust is why so many people feel powerless, why action is freedom. Action, on the other hand, is liberating. The moment you stop overthinking and start doing the weight lift, you don't have to carry the what-ifs anymore. You don't have to replay the same scenario in your head 100 times. You don't have to explain yourself, you just do it. That one choice to take action rewires your identity. Suddenly, you're no longer someone who wants to, you're someone who does. And that's the most powerful identity shift you can ever make. Successful people aren't necessarily smarter, luckier, or more talented than anyone else. They're just ruthless about closing the gap between intention and execution. While everyone else is polishing their plans, they're taking imperfect action. While everyone else is waiting for the right time, they're creating it. The illusion of motivation. Here's another myth that keeps people stuck. Waiting for motivation. Motivation is a scam. It's unreliable, inconsistent, and completely outside your control. Some days you'll wake up inspired. Most days you won't. If you only act when you feel motivated, you'll act about 10% of the time. Discipline is the antidote. Discipline says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. That's how you bridge the gap between intention and action. You stop negotiating with your feelings and start honoring your commitments. Remember this, motivation might get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Practical steps to become a person of action. So how do you actually live this out? Here are 3 simple but powerful shifts. Shrink the first step. Don't say, I'll write a book. Say, I'll write 1 paragraph today. Don't say, I'll get in shape. Say, I'll do 20 push-ups right now. Big intentions paralyze you. Small actions mobilize you. Anchor actions to routines. Tie your new behavior to something you already do. After brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After pouring your coffee, read 1 page of a book. Intentions fade. Anchors stick. Build self-trust through consistency. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity as a doer. Start small. Prove to yourself daily that you can be trusted to act. Over time, this compounds into unshakable confidence. At the end of your life, no one will remember what you intended. They'll only remember what you did. Your loved ones won't say, she always planned to be there. They'll say, she showed up. Your legacy won't be built on thoughts, but on actions. And here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Do you want to be remembered as someone who meant well or someone who did well?
Because the difference between the two is simple. It's not luck. It's not talent.
It's not motivation. It's action, your morning declaration. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't just tell yourself what you plan to do. Say it with conviction. I will act, not just intend. Today, I close the gap. Today, I do the thing. My actions will speak louder than my plan. My discipline will outlast my feelings. My life will be built on execution, not excuses. Point 6, I will focus on what I can control. One of the greatest causes of suffering in human life is this. We spend enormous energy worrying about things we cannot change. We stress about the past, which is gone. We fear the future, which hasn't happened yet. We obsess over other people's opinions, which we cannot control. And in doing so, we waste the only power we truly have, the power to choose our own thoughts, actions, and responses. This is not a new idea. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus made it clear some things are in our control and others not. According to him, this simple truth is the foundation of freedom. If you chase control over the uncontrollable, you'll live in constant frustration. But if you master control over yourself, you'll live with peace, even in chaos. The tyranny of the uncontrollable. Think about how much of your stress comes from things outside your control. The weather, the economy, the traffic, what people post on social media, what your boss or your partner thinks about you. These things dominate your mind, yet you have zero ability to command them. It's like trying to stop the waves with your hands. No matter how much effort you pour into it, you'll only exhaust yourself. And worse, you'll miss the beauty of the ocean while you fight against it. The truth is harsh, but liberating. You can't control events. You can only control your reaction to them. The freedom of letting go. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine shifting your attention away from everything beyond your reach and pouring it entirely into the things you can command. Your mindset, your choices, your habits, your effort, your attitude. Suddenly life feels lighter. Suddenly failure doesn't crush you because your worth isn't tied to results you can't control. Suddenly rejection doesn't define you because you know you can still control how you respond, how you grow, and how you move forward. This shift doesn't just reduce stress, it multiplies your power. Instead of scattering your energy on battles you can't win, you channel it into actions that actually create change. The Stoic example. Look at Marcus Aurelius again. He was the most powerful man in the world, emperor of Rome, yet he still faced plagues, wars, betrayals, and death in his own family. Did he try to control these tragedies?
No, he accepted them.
He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events."
Realize this and you will find strength. Even with all his authority, he understood the limits of control.
And instead of wasting his reign trying to bend reality to his will, he focused on ruling himself, his patience, his justice, his courage, his discipline. That is why his words still inspire us today. The modern trap, control addiction. Today, this lesson is more urgent than ever. We live in a world of constant comparison, constant judgment, constant noise. Social media convinces us that everyone else's life is perfect, while we scramble to manage our own image. News headlines make us feel powerless and afraid. The illusion of control seduces us, but in truth, we're more anxious than ever. Why? Because we've forgotten the boundary between what belongs to us and what doesn't. We want to control how others see us. We want to control outcomes that are shaped by luck, timing, and other people's choices. We want certainty in a world that is inherently uncertain, and the harder we cling, the more miserable we become. The Stoic strategy, the dichotomy of control. The Stoics had a tool for this problem, and it's as practical today as it was 2,000 years ago, the dichotomy of control. At any given moment, divide reality into two categories: what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your words, your decisions, your attitude; what you cannot control, everything else. Once you've drawn that line, your job is simple. Stop wasting energy on category 2. Instead, pour yourself fully into category 1. Did someone insult you? You can't control their words, but you can control your reaction. Did a plan fall apart? You can't control the outcome, but you can control your effort and your next step. Did the world deal you a setback? You can't control fate, but you can control your resilience. This is not passivity, it's power. Because when you stop bleeding energy into what's impossible, you unlock the full force of what's possible.
There's a deep calm that comes when you truly accept it.
Imagine walking through life without obsessing over approval, without panicking about outcomes, without drowning in what ifs. Imagine meeting each moment with clarity, This is mine to control.
That is not, and I refuse to waste myself on. That's not weakness. That's mastery.
That's freedom. And ironically, when you stop trying to control everything, you often end up influencing more than you ever imagined. People respect the one who remains calm in chaos. Opportunities flow to those who focus on action instead of excuses. You become unshakable, not because the world is easy, but because you've stopped demanding that it be. How to practice this daily morning reminder. When you wake up, list one thing you can control today and one thing you cannot. Commit to releasing the latter. The pause. Whenever you feel stress rising, pause and ask, is this within my control? If no, let it go. If yes, act immediately. The reflection. At night, review your day. Did you spend energy chasing the uncontrollable, or did you master yourself? This reflection trains your mind to focus where it matters. The declaration. Say it with conviction. I will not waste my life fighting battles I cannot win. I will not chain my happiness to what others think, to what fate delivers, or to what lies beyond my reach. My focus is my power. My effort is my freedom.
I will direct my energy only where it counts, on myself, my choices, my character.
Everything else is not mine to carry.
I will focus on what I can control. And if you can truly live this, nothing, not chaos, not rejection, not failure, not even death, will ever master you.
Point 7. I will live with urgency, not excuses. There's a dangerous lie we tell ourselves almost every single day. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll start working on my dream. Tomorrow's I'll fix my health. Tomorrow, I'll call that person I care about. Tomorrow, I'll begin living the life I want. But here's the truth. Tomorrow is a myth. Tomorrow is the most seductive form of procrastination. And the longer you believe in it, the faster your life slips through your fingers. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Seneca warned us too. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. These men weren't being morbid. They were being honest. They lived with urgency because they knew that death wasn't a possibility, it was a guarantee. And once you accept that, the excuses you've been clinging to start to feel small, even childish. The illusion of infinite time. Why do we waste so much time? Because deep down, we think we have an endless supply. We tell ourselves we'll chase our goals later, we'll heal our wounds later, we'll take risks later. But the harsh reality is that none of us know how many laters we have left. Think about this. If you live to 80 years old, you get about 4,000 weeks of life. That's it. 4,000 weeks.
And most of us spend half of them either distracted, worried, or putting things off.
By the time you realize time is running out, it's too late. But here's the good news. Urgency can be your superpower. When you live as though time is limited, you stop tolerating nonsense. You stop postponing growth. You stop living on autopilot. You start treating every day as fuel for something bigger. The weight of excuses. Excuses feel safe. They protect us from failure by allowing us to never try.
I don't have time, I'm too tired. It's not the right moment. These phrases sound real, they're poison.
Every excuse is a small surrender, and every surrender takes you further from the life you want. Imagine this. 10 years from now, you meet the version of yourself who believed their own excuses. That version is weaker, smaller, filled with regret. They'll look at you and say, "Why didn't you start?"
Why didn't you move when you had the chance? Why did you waste the one life you had? That's the haunting truth about excuses. They don't just steal your progress.
They steal your future, urgency as a weapon. Now flip the script. Imagine you woke up every morning and thought, what if today is my last shot? Suddenly that workout isn't optional. That business idea isn't someday. That call to your mom isn't later. Urgency forces you to move.
And movement creates momentum. This doesn't mean you should live recklessly.
It means you live deliberately. Every action has weight.
Every decision has consequence. You don't waste hours scrolling. You don't waste days waiting.
You don't waste years pretending you'll start eventually. You claim your life now. The Stoic reminder. Memento mori. The Stoics practiced a powerful exercise. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. They weren't obsessed with death. They were obsessed with life. By remembering death, they sharpened their focus on what truly mattered. Seneca put it this way: you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. In other words, we panic about little things, but we live as if we have forever.
That's the truth.
And the way out is urgency. When you live with death in mind, you stop fearing small embarrassments, rejections, or failures. Why? Because you know time is too short to be ruled by fear. Modern urgency in action. Look around today. The people who build, create, and achieve aren't necessarily smarter or luckier. They're urgent. They don't wait until everything is perfect. They move. They don't wait for permission. They start. They don't wait for motivation. They act. Think about the young entrepreneur who starts a business while everyone else is still planning. Think about the writer who publishes messy drafts while others wait for perfection. Think about the athlete who trains when no one's watching instead of saying, "I'll start Monday." These people aren't more talented, they're more urgent, and urgency compounds. Every day you move forward, you build momentum. Every day you delay, you dig yourself deeper into regret. Practical steps to build urgency. Daily death reminder. Start your morning by asking, if this were my last day, what would matter? This sharpens your focus immediately. Shrink the timeline. Instead of giving yourself a month to do something, give yourself a day. Instead of giving yourself a year, give yourself 3 months. Pressure forces action. Kill excuses fast. The moment an excuse enters your mind, challenge it. Is it true, or is it fear disguised as logic? Create deadlines. No deadlines, no urgency. Set them, honor them, even if no one is watching. Say no, urgency demands focus. That means saying no to distractions, to fake friends, to obligations that drain your energy. The declaration. Say it now: I will not live as if I have forever.
I will not let excuses bury me alive. I will treat time as my most sacred resource. I will act now, not later. I will love now, not later. I will build now, not later. I will live with urgency, and I will die without regret. Because at the end of your life, you won't remember the excuses.
You'll only remember the moments you were brave enough to act. Point 8. I will choose discipline over motivation. Here's a hard truth most people don't want to hear. Motivation is a liar. Motivation is like a spark. It burns bright for a moment and then fades into smoke. How many times have you felt inspired at midnight, ready to change your entire life, only to wake up the next morning with zero energy to follow through? That's the trap of motivation. It makes you feel good in the moment, but abandons you when it matters most. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is steady. Discipline is unshakable. Discipline is showing up when every cell in your body is screaming, "Stay comfortable." And that's why the Stoics valued discipline above all. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's discipline. Not chasing feelings, not chasing comfort, but living by principles, even when it hurts. The addiction to motivation. Modern society has sold us the idea that we need to feel motivated to act. We binge motivational videos, chase inspirational quotes, and wait for the right mood to strike. But here's the problem. Feelings are unreliable. They rise and fall like the tide. If you depend on them, you'll drown. The Stoics didn't waste time waiting for feelings. They acted. They believed that your actions should be led by reason and principle, not by whether you felt like it. Imagine if you only brushed your teeth when you felt motivated. Imagine if you only worked when you felt inspired. Your life would collapse. And that's what's happening to millions of people. They're addicted to motivation, but allergic to discipline. Discipline is freedom. It sounds backwards, but discipline is the highest form of freedom. Why? Because without discipline, you're a slave to your impulses, to your laziness, to your moods. But when you build discipline, you break those chains. You become free to create the life you actually want, instead of the life your emotions dictate. Think about the athlete who trains at 5 a.m. every morning. People say, "Wow, that's discipline," but to them it's freedom.
Freedom from regret.
Freedom from weakness. Freedom from the weight of knowing they could have been great, but settled for average. Discipline doesn't trap you. It liberates you. The pain of regret versus the pain of discipline. There are only two types of pain in life: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline hurts now, waking up early, pushing through workouts, saying no to comfort, staying consistent, but that pain builds strength. Regret, on the other hand, comes later. It's the weight you feel when you realize you wasted years. It's the sting of knowing you could have been more, but you let laziness win. And regret is always heavier than discipline. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Self-mastery comes only through discipline. You can't control the world, but you can control yourself, your actions, your habits, your choices. And in that control lies true power. How to build Stoic discipline. Discipline isn't magic, it's built.
And it starts small.
Start with identity, not goal. Don't just say, "I want to work out." Say, "I am someone who doesn't skip workouts." When your identity shifts, your discipline follows. Make it non-negotiable. Stop giving yourself an out. If you say you'll do it, it's law. No debates, no excuses. Detach from feelings. Whether you feel tired, sad, or uninspired, act anyway. Your emotions are weather. Your actions are the climate. Use routines as armor. Build habits that remove choice. If you wake up at 6 every day, there's no room for argument with yourself. Celebrate consistency, not bursts.
Motivation pushes you to sprint.
Discipline teaches you to endure the marathon. Discipline as self-respect. Here's the part most people miss. Discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. When you say you'll do something and you follow through, you're telling yourself, "I can trust me." That trust builds confidence. That confidence builds momentum. And that momentum reshapes your entire life. On the flip side, every time you break your word to yourself, you send the opposite message. "I can't even rely on me." That's how self-doubt grows.
That's how shame creeps in.
Not because you failed, but because you abandoned yourself. Discipline heals that wound. It rebuilds the bond between who you are and who you want to be. Why motivation is dangerous. Motivation feels good, but it's dangerous because it tricks you into thinking you've done something. Watching a motivational video gives you a dopamine hit, the illusion of progress without actual progress. But discipline doesn't care about the dopamine hit. Discipline doesn't need hype music or flashy speeches. Discipline is boring, repetitive, unglamorous, but it's also unstoppable. The Stoics lived this truth. They weren't chasing excitement, they were chasing mastery. Every day they asked, "What is within my control?
And what must I do regardless of how I feel?" That's discipline.
And that's the mindset that built empires, philosophies, and legacies that still outlive them today. So here's the declaration you must burn into your heart. I will not wait for motivation to save me. I will not rely on moods to move me. I will choose discipline over comfort, over laziness, over excuses. My actions will not be slaves to my emotions.
I will be the master of myself.
Because motivation may inspire me, but discipline will define me. At the end of your life, people won't remember how motivated you felt. They'll remember what you built, what you did, what you stood for. And that only comes from discipline.
So stop chasing sparks, build the fire.
Point 9, gratitude will shape. How I see the day, gratitude is not just saying thank you. Gratitude is a lens. It's a way of looking at the world that changes everything you see. Most people wake up and immediately focus on what's missing. The money they don't have, the relationship they wish they had, the problems waiting on their desk. They scroll through social media and compare their life to someone else's highlight reel. And just like that, before the day even begins, they've poisoned their mindset with scarcity. But here's the truth the Stoics understood. Your perspective shapes your reality. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." Gratitude isn't about ignoring problems. It's about refusing to let problems blind you to blessings. The science of gratitude, modern neuroscience, proves what ancient philosophy already knew. Gratitude literally rewires your brain. When you practice gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals of happiness and calm. Over time, your brain builds new pathways, making you naturally more optimistic and resilient. Gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you think. Think about it. The same exact day can feel completely different depending on your focus. If you wake up complaining about your job, your body, your bills, you'll carry that negativity into everything you do. But if you wake up grateful for breath in your lungs, for the chance to try again, for the simple gift of life, you'll move through the day with energy, with perspective, with strength. Why gratitude is hard. Here's the paradox. Gratitude is the simplest habit in the world, but also the hardest. Why? Because your brain is wired to notice threats, not blessings. It's a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors didn't need to appreciate the sunset. They needed to notice the lion hiding in the grass. That's why negativity feels natural and gratitude feels forced. But here's the thing, you're not living in the wild anymore. You don't need to survive, you need to thrive. And thriving requires training your brain to focus not just on danger, but on abundance. The Stoic technique, negative visualization. The Stoics had a brilliant method to sharpen gratitude called negative visualization. They would imagine losing the things they already had, their health, their family, their freedom, not to depress themselves, but to increase appreciation. Imagine waking up and realizing that your ability to walk, to see, to breathe freely is not guaranteed. Suddenly, even an ordinary day feels like a miracle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And that's gratitude. It's not waiting for life to give you something extraordinary. It's realizing that life itself is extraordinary. How gratitude changes everything. Gratitude shifts your mindset in 3 powerful ways. It transforms problems into perspective.
That traffic jam you're stuck in.
Gratitude reminds you that millions of people don't even have a car.
That stressful job.
Gratitude reminds you that someone else is praying for work. Gratitude doesn't erase struggle, but it makes struggle bearable by giving you perspective. It turns ordinary into extraordinary.
A hot shower.
A meal on your table.
A friend who texts you back.
These are things you overlook until they're gone. Gratitude turns background noise into blessings.
It builds resilience.
When life knocks you down, gratitude is the hand that helps you up. Because even in pain, gratitude whispers, "Look, there's still something good here." That whisper keeps you from drowning in despair. The trap of comparison. One of the biggest gratitude killers today is comparison. Social media tricks you into thinking your life is small, boring, or inadequate because someone else seems to have more. But gratitude snaps you out of that trap. Gratitude says, "I don't need their life to love my life." When you live in gratitude, you stop competing and start appreciating. How to practice daily gratitude. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a discipline. Here's how to build it into your mornings. Start with 3. Each morning, name 3 things you're grateful for. Simple, specific, real. Feel it, don't just say it. Gratitude isn't a checklist, it's an experience. Pause, breathe, and let yourself feel the weight of your blessings. Use challenges as triggers. When something annoys you, train yourself to ask, "What's the hidden gift here?" That delay might give you patience. That rejection might redirect you towards something better. Gratitude is a muscle. The more you flex it, the stronger it gets. Gratitude as a shield. Here's the deeper truth. Gratitude is armor. The world will throw stress, negativity, and chaos at you. Gratitude protects your peace. Gratitude keeps you grounded when envy tries to take over, when stress tries to break you, when fear tries to control you. Gratitude is the reminder that no matter what's missing, there's already enough. So here's what you say each morning. Gratitude will shape how I see the day. I choose to see abundance, not lack. I choose to see blessings, not burdens. I choose to appreciate life instead of complaining about it. Today I open my eyes to the miracles around me. My grateful heart creates my happy life. And when you say it with conviction, when you live it, you stop waiting for happiness to arrive. You create it. Gratitude doesn't change what you have. It changes how you see what you have.
And that changes everything.
Point 10. Forgiveness will free. my mind, forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood powers a person can possess. Most people think forgiveness is about letting someone else off the hook, about excusing the harm they did. But forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. Forgiveness is freedom. When you hold on to anger, bitterness, and resentment, you're not punishing the other person, you're punishing yourself.
You're drinking poison and hoping they'll die.
And meanwhile, your peace, your joy, your energy, your focus, all of it is being drained. The Stoics knew this truth well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When someone wrongs you, you have two choices: to become like them, trapped in bitterness, or to rise above them, free in forgiveness. To forgive is not weakness, it's ultimate strength.
Because anyone can hate.
Anyone can cling to anger, but only the powerful can release it. Why forgiveness is so hard? Let's be honest, forgiveness feels unfair. Your mind tells you they don't deserve it.
They hurt me.
They need to pay. And maybe they do deserve consequences. But forgiveness isn't about removing consequences. It's about removing chains. You can't move forward if you're still chained to the past. And every time you replay that betrayal, that insult, that disappointment, you're giving that person power over your present moment. Forgiveness is taking your power back. Think of it like this. Resentment is a backpack full of stones. Every time someone hurts you and you don't forgive, you add another stone. You think carrying it makes you strong, but in reality, it's only slowing you down. Forgiveness is putting the backpack down and walking free. The science of forgiveness. Psychologists have studied forgiveness for decades, and the results are stunning. People who practice forgiveness have lower blood pressure, reduced stress, stronger immune systems, and even live longer lives. Why? Because resentment is stress, and stress destroys the body. Forgiveness literally heals you from the inside out. It's not just a spiritual principle, it's a survival tool. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. One of the biggest myths about forgiveness is that it means forgetting.
That's not true.
You don't have to forget what they did. You don't even have to reconcile with them. Forgiveness doesn't mean you trust them again. It simply means you refuse to let their actions poison your soul. You remember, but without venom. You learn, but without hatred. Forgiveness says, I acknowledge what happened, but I will not let it control me anymore. The Stoic practice, control what you can. Epictetus taught that the only thing you truly control is your own mind. You don't control whether people hurt you. You don't control whether they apologize, but you control your response. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of control. Because when you forgive, you say, you may have taken something from me in the past, but you will not take my peace today. Why forgiveness is a daily choice. Forgiveness isn't always one moment. It's a process. Sometimes you forgive someone today, and then tomorrow the anger comes back.
That's okay.
Forgiveness is like working out. You have to do it consistently to build strength. Every time the bitterness rises, you choose to let it go again. Over time, the grip of resentment weakens and peace becomes your natural state. Stories of forgiveness that inspire history is full of people who showed the power of forgiveness. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, wrongly accused, tortured, humiliated. When he was finally released, he could have sought revenge. Instead, he forgave his oppressors and led South Africa toward peace. Why? Because he understood that bitterness would only keep his nation in chain. Forgiveness set not only him free, but millions of others. If Mandela could forgive 27 years of injustice, can't we forgive a harsh word, a betrayal, a disappointment? Forgiveness doesn't excuse the wrong. It simply refuses to let the wrong destroy you. How to practice forgiveness daily. Acknowledge the hurt. Don't pretend it didn't happen.
Name it, feel it.
And decide you will not carry it any longer. Shift perspective. Ask yourself, is my anger serving me or is it destroying me? Anger feels powerful in the moment, but it's poison long term. Release control. Understand that you may never get an apology. You may never get closure. Forgiveness is deciding you don't need it in order to heal. Speak release. Even if you can't say it to the person, say it out loud. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Forgiveness as liberation. Here's the truth. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's not about making them free. It's about making yourself free. Forgiveness removes the weight that resentment places on your soul. It gives you room to breathe, to grow, to live. Without forgiveness, you're chained to the past. With forgiveness, you're open to the future, the final declaration. So this is what you say each morning. Forgiveness will free my mind. I release the bitterness, the anger, the resentment that has weighed me down. I will not let the past control my present.
I choose peace over poison.
I choose freedom over chains.
I forgive, not because it is easy, but because I refuse to let hatred own me.
My heart is free and my mind is light. That declaration doesn't just set the tone for your day, it sets the tone for your life.
Forgiveness isn't weakness.
Forgiveness is strength. And when you live it, you discover what true freedom feels like.